We're learning. Says the Mishnah, someone makes his sukkah under a tree. Says the Mishnah, pretty strong words. You wasted a lot of your time, a lot of your energy. Might as well have just stayed in your dining room. It's as if you made a mill of your house. Din number 1 in the Mishnah. Din number 2. Sukkah al gabe sukkah. You have a 2-floor sukkah. Hel yoina kshera. Top floor is kosher. V'tachtaina psula. The bottom is possible. Simply, without knowing anything else, what's pshat? Because the bottom guy has someone walking on his head. The top guy, who cares as he has someone underneath him? Lamais, he has a regular sukkah. The bottom guy is the issue. What?
Why the change of lashon?
Which part? Very good. Very good. Gemara will discuss in a moment. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, diyurim be'el yaina. If no one's living in the top, then hatachtaina kshera. Then the bottom one is kosher. So, in case you had a hard time visualizing this one's pretty easy, but just in case. There, that is a sukkah under a tree. I don't even know why we're showing this one. That's pretty easy. Okay, and that's sukkah tachas sukkah. Looks pictures in the back here, no? No, the arguments don't have. They give us separate picture books instead.
Sukkah tachas ilon is which one?
Sukkah tachas ilon.
But if he would have used the leaves itself.
Let's go. Here we go. That's we're getting to right now. Says the Hiligi Gemara. Here we go. Amar Rava. Amar Rava loishanu ala bi'ilon shatzilasai miruba mechamas. Says Rava, this din is only if the tree has more shade than sun. It's a geshmaka tree. Aval chamasai meruba mitzilasai kshera. If you have a few twigs, it's kosher. Interesting din. Says the Gemara, mimai. Where do we know this from? Midiktani. He's only looking in the Gemara to make us feel good. Bet him he knows about that. Mimai. Midiktani. Because the Mishnah said, as Rebel, you pointed out, Ki'ilu asa b'toich habayis. Lamali. Why do we have to say these words if you made it in the house? Lamali the misty. Why do we have to say these words? Ki'ilu asa b'toich habayis. Lisni psula. Say stam. Sukkah on the tree is psula. Ella kamash malon. What's the chiddush? Deila nadam yadabayis. Chiddush is that the tree is similar to Abayis. Ma Abayis ilasa miru mechamasai. I sure hope so. That you're more shade than sun coming through your roof. Af ilan silasa miru mechamasai. Good. So we have a diuk.
In Abayis, if it would be the opposite, it would be kosher, or it wouldn't be kosher.
No. The diuk is from the lashon. You look up at your roof. Every roof in the world has more shade than sun. It's called the roof. It's not shayich.
It's a glass roof.
Unless it's a glass roof, which isn't a normal roof. A normal bias has, So now, that's the diak. Now, we have not explained what's pshat, right? Everyone, okay, shkayach. We just had a diak from the Mishnah. Shtei in Mishnah, that it's like a bias. And therefore, if it's more shade than sun, it's possible. If it's more sun than shade, it's kosher, which means if I have a tree with some sparsely leaves and branches over my sukkah, the Gemara just said, it's kosher. The question is, why in the world is that kosher? You're sitting underneath a tree branch. So says the Gemara, now we're going to get, so again, we started off with diuk, which often the Gemara does. We started off with diuk proving the din. Now we're going to understand it, which is interesting. Usually they say, Teras Chesed, what? Mavia? Oh, the crisps. I thought there was something wrong in the computer. They say, Teras Chesed al Shainai, Cheshbin Svara diuk. Interesting thing to think about when you try to think about something. I think we usually do it, the us yeshiva guys do it backwards. We do diuk, and then we shtup our svara in, and then maybe we'll try to figure out whether cheshbon makes any sense. But lamaisa, it's a fuch. Yeah, which way? Cheshbon, svara diuk. So here the Gemara just proved us, really with diuk, the Gemara proved it makes sense. Now the Gemara wants to know, why does it make sense? If there's more sun than shade, meaning you only have a few branches, my have, who cares? Says the Gemara, Hakam itztarif haschach pasol bahade schach kosher. Says the Gemara, I don't understand why it's kosher. I have schach pasel that's combining with my schach kosher, and therefore it should passel up my sukkah. Now,
Why is
what?
it considered schach possible?
Because it's attached to the ground. B'chaber lekarka. Chaber lekarka is
they
pasel.
say that. Okay,
Good,
that's
good.
fine.
Chaber lekarka. Now, the question is why? Meaning, so it's schach pasel. So what's the halacha? And this is really where, if you think about this, you run into a little bit of an issue. If I have all schach kosher, and I throw a few metal slats up there with a schach pasel, my ganze schach is pasel? Avadinisht. That's what the Gemara is saying, which is, I'm just pointing out that the kasha of the Gemara is not so simple. Because state in Gemara, it combines the two, and therefore it's pasel. So we're going to learn the teretz, and then maybe we'll go back afterwards and we'll try to explain how the Havamina makes sense. But the Gemara's kasha is that, again, Nachum, I'll tweet it again. We're saying that if it's more sun than shade, then it's going to be kosher. Ask the Gemara why. And therefore the Gemara is saying it should be pasel. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, Bishechavton Gishmak. Bishechavton is a nice picture here. Look at Bishechavton, Chavra. Page 30, hey, page 30, hey. Page Lamed, hey, 35 in English. I'm just going to use mine to show him. If you want, you could see also. Rabbi Kogas, look over there.
Which number?
Bishechavton. It's having a hard time focusing.
Which kuf?
The one, yeah, this is pointless because you can't see anything. It's just one big blurry.
Which kuf?
Rabbi Schuster, a haircut like covered Sunday. I just noticed. It's probably covered Shabbos. We just didn't get a chance to see you till Sunday.
That it's mamish touching.
Okay, so this is pointless because this is very blurry. You can't see anything. But so now you can't see it in the picture. I don't know why it's not working. Let's explain it in words. That you take the branches and you take them chavat. We had this word actually. We had chavat rami with the words we had.
Touching.
That you take the branches and you weave it in the schach. You weave it in.
It's still connected to the tree.
It's chil schach basel. But the Gemara is saying the reason why it's kosher, if you don't have so many of them, is when it is woven in. When it's woven in. Now, why does that make it kosher? We have absolutely no clue. Let's leave it for a moment. Frak the Gemara asks, the Gemara seemed to think this was very pashut. If you took the branches and you lowered them, again, we have a tree, we have our weeping willow, and we take the branches and we pull it down, and we take the branches while connected to the tree, and we weave it into our sukkah. And that's where the Gemara is saying that if there's not more shade than sun, there's more sun than shade, it's kosher. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Ibishechavtan, Maila Memra. What's the chiddush? Of course it's kosher. Answers the Gemara, Mahu detema. I would have thought, Nigzar heicha, techavtan heich atu heicha deloichavtan. I would have thought a good old-fashioned gezerah, kamash malon, delay gazrinan. That there's no gezerah. Says the Gemara, and I'll prove this point. Actually, but before we prove this point, let's try to understand what's going on over here. What was the Gemara's kasha? What was the Gemara's teretz? So let's do this with Rashi, because there are numerous pshatim over here, and I'll just be honest, I don't find any of them to be particularly simple. So let's do it together with Rashi. Let's go back for a moment. Okay, that's really the end of the Gemara. The Gemara goes for another 2 lines. The Gemara has a small side kasha, small side teretz. But that was the Iker Gemara. Again, the Mishnah said, if you build your sukkah under a tree, it's possible. Said the Gemara, only if the tree gives of more shade than sun. If the tree gives of more sun than shade, meaning it's a very thinly leafed tree, then it would be kosher. And that din, why it would be kosher, is what we're trying to figure out. The Gemara explained it's going to be kosher because you took the branches and you wove it into your schach, and therefore it is kosher. So let's look at Rashi. Rashi, in the second narrow line, Rashi says, Ha ka mitztarif schach pasel. You're being mitztarif schach pasel bahadei schach kosher, which was the Gemara's kasha. So then why is it kosher? Says the Gemara, Hakam mitztarif schach pasel. Mechubar schach pasel. So number one says Rashi, the question you're all wondering, Rashi was also wondering, and Rashi keys us in, that if schach is attached to the ground, we're in the third narrow line of Rashi, it is pasel. Why is it pasel? Dechsev says in the Torah, Batzcha b'garnecha mi'ikvech. Mimashata me'asef, that which you gather together, migarnecha, for your granary, asei sukkascha, that's what makes your sukkah. Bibseiles garin kigoin kashin, like straw. Ubibseiles yakev kigoin ashkeles rikanis uzumayrais, different twigs and branches. Alma tolush beinen. Good. So number one is the branches have to be detached. If the branches are attached, then what is the problem? The problem is, then it's going to be pasel. Schach pasel. Now, continues Rashi, Umahani tzela ilon, the shade of the tree helps, litzel aschach, lehashlim tzilasai shel sukkah, to complete the shade of the sukkah. Does anyone have any clue what in the world Rashi means? Again, the Gemara just said that if the tree gives off more shade than sun, then it pasels your sukkah. If the tree gives off less shade than sun, more sun than shade, then it's no problem, even though the branches are pasel, says Rashi, but the pasel branches combined with the kosher branches, again, they're not connected, one's up here and one's down here, and therefore it is kosher. Why is it kosher? Anyone? Anyone? Now you say more, but we have schach pasel. So I would have thought the exact opposite. Again.
That's what it's asking.
No. Again. What's the kasha of the Gemara? Nachma. The kasha of the Gemara is v'chi chamasa meruba metzilasai mai have hakam mitzaref schach pasel b'adis schach kosher. So the Gemara is saying, so therefore it should be pasel, not that it should be kosher.
Right.
And why did the Mishnah say it's kosher? Lots of rights. So what's the reason it would be kosher that we're now saying it's pasel?
Because it's not enough leaves.
That's what Rashi.
Because the tree is
I'm not asking kasha. Just let's explain it. That what? Good. That what?
You need syrup.
Good.
You have syrup. It's not enough.
Oh, very good. Now let's say you don't need syrup. Let's say I have a good sukkah with full schach. Then it would be kosher even though, very good. So that's how Rashi learns the Gemara, and it's a big chiddush Rashi's learning.
What?
Let's explain. Rashi's learning that the case of the Gemara is very unique. That you have a sukkah. If you were to have a sukkah with full schach, and then you have a few branches on top, who cares? That's not going to matter.
No,
That's
of course you care.
Slow. The maskana maybe, yeah. But in the kasha of the Gemara, that's not the problem. The Gemara's kasha is in a scenario that those branches up there are going to combine with the branches down here to create my sale sukkah. How could that be kosher? It should be pasel. And the Mishnah seemed to say it's kosher. That's the way Rashi learns the kasha of the Gemara, which is a very limiting kasha, because Rashi took the whole ganze Mishnah and made it into a very small case. Usually we like to say, that you make a sukkah under a tree, so it should be a sukkah under a tree. What type of sukkah? Every type of sukkah, a normal kosher sukkah. If the psul is the sukkah, the tree, why do I care the type of sukkah? Rashi's learning a very, very unique and limiting way in the Gemara, but that's how Rashi learns. L'maisa Taisis and other Rishonim go to town with Rashi, and they have to come along with extravagant pshatim and how to explain the havamina of the Gemara. According to them, the maskana is going to be easier, but according to Rashi, that's how we learn. So let's explain according to Rashi. According to Rashi, at least, the shaklavitari of the Gemara is very easy. The give and take is pashit. It's just Rashi creates a massive chiddush. Let's speak it out outside one more time. You make a sukkah under a tree. What type of sukkah is under a tree? So the way Rashi is learning, let's just take it from A to Z, sukkah with very little schach. And you want the tree to be your schach. Says the Gemara, if the tree is a lot of shade, then avada it's possible. But if the tree is not so much shade, then it should be kosher. That's the diak. Frag the Gemara, why is that kosher? You have schach possible together with schach kosher, and it shouldn't be kosher. So now 1 second, let's continue. So what's...
It shouldn't count at all.
So
if the sukkah itself has
good.
Too much
scale,
don't
Rashi,
count the fact that you're adding this because that shouldn't.
But again, the Fi Rashi is a problem because the Fi Rashi, if you had enough shade, then that stuff up there is irrelevant.
Exactly.
But now that there isn't enough shade, it is relevant. How do,
That's what the Gemara, and the question of the Gemara is it shouldn't be relevant because it's mechuber, so it should never be relevant. That's the
no,
question.
it should always
It should always be puzzling, yes.
But Lefi Rashi, it's not. That's what I'm pointing out. Lefi Rashi, if I had a good sale from my sukkah and I have a few branches on top, there wouldn't be a problem because Rashi is limiting the Gemara's case to a very small case. Okay, that's how Rashi learns. What's the teretz of the Gemara? Now let's follow through with Rashi. Teretz of the Gemara is b'shechavton. So now we have a massive chiddush in the teretz of the Gemara. Hishbil zak Rashi weiter. Hishbil enough of lamata. You lower the branches below, me'uravim im zchach kosher. And they're connected, they're intertwined, they're mixed with zchach kosher. Ve'in nirin be'en. I don't know what that means in Rashi. They're not recognizable. Uschach kosher.
They're mixed in.
Yeah. Uschach.
That is mechuber.
Because look how Rashi continues. Uschach kosher rava alav umevatloi. Says Rashi, there's more schach kosher and it's mevatel the schach basel. Demidaraisa komi li batel beroid. Kidetan v'asnisan. So very good. So Adra kosher ladochte. What
No,
was the...
because there's an Inyan that if you can see it and take it out, then you take it out.
So good. You want to say a massive chiddush in bittel, and that could be Pshan and Rashi. Could be Pshan and Rashi. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. But that would work in the lashon of Rashi. They near a be'en. It's a funny thing. Well, why is Rashi throwing that in? Like mehechatesi. But what you're learning makes a lot of sense in the words. In Svara, it's a pella atzuma. That my schach is going to be. It's going to be bottle because I can't see that it's connected, and therefore there's more schach kosher and bottle beroiv. Aganza ma'isa.
How would you read the Gemara with? I'm saying Rashi's trying to explain the Gemara.
How do you do without Rashi? Yeah. So Taisus comes along, as you see, Taisus spilled a lot of ink over here, trying to understand what happened over here. I'll just tell you, according to Taisus, the maskana is much easier. Because according to Taisus, we always knew that you had a lot of, it's not a din in bittel. I'll be honest, I don't really have clear pshat in Taisus. I didn't go through the whole thing. I just saw that he was arguing, and I saw that it's a nayab pshat, and I saw that Rashi is a chiddush, and that's where I left it for tonight. It could be if you like, we could go deeper. But let's just appreciate. Sometimes the first step is to appreciating the chiddush. That's how Rashi learns, and that is the Heilige Gemara. We have Ma'ariv in 2 minutes. Let's go one drop further. Stayed in the Gemara. Hanami Tanina, Frakti Gemara. The din that you just said is a Mishnah. Hidla, Mishnah later on, Daf Yud Aleph. Hidla Aleha. If you lowered onto it es hagefen, the grapevine, ves hadalas, the gourd vine, to know gourds have vines, ves hakisem, and different types of grasses, vesikech al gabon, psula. But if the schach is more than the branches that you put down, again, these branches are connected to the ground, so there's schach basel. So frakti gemara, pashit is a peferish mishnah daf yud aleph, that if you take schach basel, you have these reeds that are connected to the ground, you lean them on top of your sukkah, and then you pile on top of them schach kosher, calls man it's more, it's kosher. So why is our gemara have to say the same din? Says the Gemara, Heichi Dami. What is the case over there? Daf Yudalf. Ilema b'shaloi chavton. That you didn't intermingle them, you didn't intertwine them. Hakam istarif schach pasul schach kosher, and therefore it should be pasul, like we're learning by us. They're two independent entities and shapasel. Allah v'shechavton. Ushma mina deloi gazrinan. So frakti Gemara. That's the end of the kasha. Shema mina deloi gazrinan. So we said that the whole chiddush of our sugya is, do you make a gzeira or not? We see you don't. Answers the Gemara. Ma'u detema. Hani mili b'di'evet av lechatchila loy. Kamash v'lanit even a din lechatchila. Which if you think about it is a shtickle pella. Because you would have thought that the Mishnah is a din b'di'evet. And this is teaching us the Mishnah din lechatchila. Okay. Usually the Mishnah should be din lechatchila. This should be din b'di'evet. But okay. Very good. Tuesday night. Eli, around Tuesday night?
Yes.
B'siyat Shemaya. B'siyat Shemaya.
Eagles won.